Hello. Bear with me while I just get this. It's a bit on the heavy side. It's plasma day. It's not a big plasma. I would say it's a 37-inch by looking at it, and it is it's a 42-inch. Something a bit different because it's not a UK spec. It's actually from Saudi Arabia. I'll show you the model number, just in case you don't believe me. So the label is looking a little bit different. The model is a 42PQ10R. This one was made in Korea, and I'll just give you a little bit of it. It's in mint condition. It really is in mint condition. It's not been used for the last 6 or 7 years. It's been in storage. The gentleman returned home to England, brought it back with him. It's been in storage, as I say, for a number of years. Somewhere between 5 and 10 years doing nothing. Then he decided he wanted to use it. It worked fine for a couple of days, and then it won't turn on. Be great if it's just a capacitor issue that's shocked itself, but I doubt it. And I'm worried about finding parts for this, because if it's not UK spec, it could be difficult. So let's hope it is a capacitor issue, but I don't think it is going to be. I mean, as you can see, it really is in, using that wonderful English term, tip-top. It is in tip-top condition. But it's not happy about something. Let me just get a power supply. I mean, it really would be a tonic if we could get this up and running today without having to order parts. I would class that as a real success. Anybody ever seen any of these? I've got loads of these from my disco dancing day. Split IEC plugs. They were used for DJs, just to link a couple of boxes together at a time. It's got a 13 amp plug on the other side. You never see them these days. And they do come in handy. I'm guessing more than likely with this, and you should never guess with plasmas. I'm a big fan of plasma TVs. They're great to play with and to repair, or they were, until parts started becoming a bit... I mean, this looks just like it's come out of the shop. It really is in such good condition. Anyway, let's switch it on. You never know. I mean, I've had it in this workshop for a considerable amount of time. I tell you what I'll do. I will get. You can see that the standby light has come on. I'll just get my service remote ready. Can't speak. Because this is going to be key to tell us exactly what's going on. So let's follow the standby light. Right, in standby and service remote and on. That's actually got an input. Well, is that a standby light? Must be. Yeah. This really is stuck in standby. It's got buttons underneath here that you can see me playing with. But as I'm sure you can see, or until the camera moved anyway, this TV is just stuck in standby. It's not moving from that red light. It just isn't. The fact that it's stuck in standby is a bit of a mystery, to be honest with you. I can't really remember a plasma being stuck in standby. Now, the only problem when something is stuck in standby is if it's a main board job. Getting a main board for this would be difficult. We'd have to try and find a main board that's got UK spec, European spec, rather than Dubai spec. Or maybe there's a chance that LG designed these to be the same worldwide over. Well, probably not the main board, obviously, for tuning purposes, but we will see. It is so clean, though. It is so clean. But as we all know, electronics don't like not being used. They just don't. So if this has been hanging around between 5 and 10 years and then shocked into working, you still would think it would be the capacitors taking the brunt of the shock. So we'll have a look at the power supply, we'll check some voltages. We may have to get the hot air gun out, warm up a few caps on the power supply to see if that kick-starts anything. Just look how new that all looks. Hey? I mean, don't they even suffer with dust in Saudi Arabia? I mean, obviously I'm the first person to take the back off this, and this TV has had some use, probably for the first 5 or 6 years of its life, and then it's been in storage, and the guy brought it back over from Dubai, I do believe, and it worked for the first day, and then it just stopped. Well, we'll see why that is in just a second, but just look at the condition. It's new, man. There's always a health indicator light on the logic board here. Right, we are switched on. So we should have that standby light, which is a weird standby light. Yeah. I say weird. It just looks slightly different. And this TV is not being told to turn on at all. So with the help of this camera, we'll have a look at some of the voltages. 17 volts? Okay. The 5 volt standby is going to be there. Let's get a meter and do some checks. Now, some people may think that all you have to do when it comes to something like this is check the voltage on the power supply. You can see 3 or 4 voltages on the legend board there. Whichever voltage is missing, find out where it's come from, replace the part, or replace the power board if you have to, and then job's done. Doesn't work that way, especially with plasmas. Well, it doesn't work that way on modern day TVs. Remember, it's the responsibility of the main board to turn on the power supply. At this particular occasion, it's the job of the logic board. You can just see under my hand there to do all that. So all these boards connect to each other. Nothing on the 17 volts. Well, that says 4 volts. That's low. That's the 5 volt standby supply, and that is saying 4 volts. Nothing else.
4 volts is very low. So the 17 volts is not there, the 12 volts is there, but the 5 volt, which you'd expect to be there,
is there. You just have to search for it. But all the voltages are there, and the voltages are also getting to the main board. But the main board is not waking up and telling the rest of the TV to turn on. I must admit, looking back on this, doing the editing, I'm quite proud of my diagnosis so quickly. After just a few minutes, I've started to indicate that the problem is going to be on the main board, because the voltages seem to be everywhere. A lot of times you just jump in and think it's a scan board and a YSUS and an X-main problem, but not this time.
Well, the 17 volts is on the board, and the 5 volts is there. At the moment, it's my worst fear. My worst fear is the main board. Yeah, it's 5 volts getting to the main board. Two lots of 5 volts getting to the main board. That's only got 1.2. I would expect that to be the 12 volts. But nothing on these yet. The power board's not been told to turn on, and it's the main board's job to turn it on. I'm still not getting the 12 volts, so we still could be looking at something on this power supply. I would imagine that at the moment we are looking for a power supply issue. I'm going to warm up the board. There's a chance that this TV, even though the caps aren't bulging or anything like that, and this is from the time of bulging caps, but there's also such a thing as dried out capacitors. So I've just got my little heat gun here, and I'm just going to go around these little caps for starters.
I'm doing this just in case there is a missing voltage that's not getting to the main board, but as far as I can see with my tests, all the voltages are there. But these little bootstrap caps, as I call them, are also responsible for kick-starting part of the power supply. So I'm just kind of, what's that phrase that I hate? Belt and braces, just to see.
was rather hoping that that would have kicked the relay in.
That kind of rules out a quick fix, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, never did like that camera anyway. So just a bit of a spoiler alert here, because we're kind of 15 minutes into this, and I always say to myself, if you can't make some sort of diagnosis after 15 minutes, then there is a problem. Technically, we have made the diagnosis, but a spoiler alert: if you're thinking that we're not going to see this TV come on, well, then you're wrong, because we will.
It really does seem like the processor has failed on the main board, just from initial inspection. Because the main board, that's a tiny little thing. How am I going to find one of those in the UK? How? But the way to find out for sure is, well, the way to eliminate the power supply is if I disconnect, well, let's disconnect the main board. We've got power to it, so let's disconnect the power supply comes on. Did you hear that? I've disconnected the main board. I'll just put the microphone here so you can. So now with the main board disconnected, click. Did you hear it? I'll do that again because I was talking, sorry. Main board disconnected. Power supply comes up. So the power supply is not being told to turn on. Let's put in the scan boards, which is the YSUS and the X main, and let's see if, yep, they come up. So I'm now going to put back in the main board. Totally dead. But let's disconnect the logic board from the main board. Now the logic board should be quite easy to get, but no.
You have to remember when these TVs first started going faulty, and this is a 2008 TV, I think it said on the label. So these would have started going faulty 2012, 2013, and we had these coming in all the time. There was no such thing as a 5-minute fix, a half-an-hour fix. Engineers really had to study these, test for voltages and check. It was a good couple of hours inspection that is needed on the UK ones. The difference is the UK ones, it was easy to get replacements. This is going to be quite difficult to get replacements. Now, at the moment, I'm just trying to heat up the caps on the main board just to see if that does it. And something does happen here.
Oh. Ah. We've come on, I think. I don't know. I heard a click. That red light has gone off. Standby light has gone off, but we're not getting any picture. But the power supply is now turning on again. Ah, now it's gone to standby. And it's gone off. Should we now get a picture? Not responding to the remote. And we're back to it being in standby.
But you can probably hear with all the clicking that's going on that there is a change now. The power supply is being told to turn on, but for some particular reason it's then being told to turn off straight away. But we've made progress, I think.
And I don't know if you can see, and you possibly can't, but the logic board light is now operating. But it's not happy. And we've got the light on the main board now. So switch the TV off.
You may notice I've gone back to using the onboard switches on the TV because I'm convinced that the remote control has got a battery issue. But I'm kidding myself on that, really. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that remote control at all. We're just about to see where the fault lies.
So I'm guessing our voltages have come back, but the TV is still not turning on.
You can tell I've not been working with plasmas for a long time because you get used to seeing backlights come on. When you see backlights come on an LED TV, you know that the picture is there, but I just need to lift it up.
Oh, yes it has. It's not happy. The light's gone blue now. What about a menu?
I'm desperately trying to find a way to make sure that it's not the main board because I doubt very much I'm going to find a main board. Yet the glitches that we saw on screen there proves what the problem is.
How bizarre. Did you see those patterns on screen? I'm still thinking main board. I'm pressing the menu button here and nothing's coming up on the menu button. Switching on. Does it go red or blue? Goes nothing this time. Now it's gone red. Definitely a main board. Definitely a main board. We're now getting further than we were before, but not much. We've just gone back to the red standby light. So I'm going to warm up the capacitors on the main board again, but this is more than likely it warmed up the processor. But again, it thinks the TV is on. I'm just gonna, I won't check voltages on the scan boards. Let me just check. Because the screen was primed earlier and the light was blue.
Now, when I say the screen was primed, that's just like saying an LED TV is turning on with the backlights and no picture. It means the scan boards are powered up and they're active, but there's no image getting to the screen.
Is it now going to turn on? I heard a click. No, It's not turned blue.
The processor, of course, is responsible for so many things. It's responsible for the information, it's responsible for the image, it's responsible for turning on the main board, and it's responsible for turning on the power supply too. It seems like the processor on this particular board is part working sometimes, especially when we get a bit of heat to it. So on so many occasions you can just heat up a processor and the TV will come back to life and last for days.
Just going to warm up the processor to see if we get another click. If it is the processor, we're a bit toast, unfortunately. There's nothing we can do. Nothing. Sorry, you probably can't see what I'm doing, or maybe you can. But for a second we did have a picture. Red light has gone off. Is the blue light coming on, and are we getting a picture? No.
No, but the blue light coming on means that the screen's primed. So when I move my hand at the moment, you will see that the screen is actually lit up. There's just no image there. So the plasma is working.
Pressing the menu button shuts it down completely, which again just goes back to a processing issue. But the mainboard's woke up enough now. But I did, for a brief second, we did see the LG no signal logo. For a brief second. I'm 90% sure it's a processor. Sorry, I don't know what keeps happening to the camera. I'm 90% sure it's the processor on here. So I'm just going to warm that up again.
And this time I will concentrate completely on the processor, whereas before I was warming up some of the caps as well. But this time I will give plenty of heat to the processor just to see if that kicks it in. We've done this before, obviously not on this make and this model. I really don't think I've worked on this model before. I'll be interested to find out if anybody knows the UK equivalent. But quite a few of the LG TVs would wake up when you'd reheat the processor. But as I say, it's not a long-term fix. You'll be lucky if it gets you to the end of the week. But it shows you where the fault is, and all you've got to do is find a main board. And for that, I'm going to have to jump onto eBay Saudi Arabia.
TV clicks straight away. We get a blue light. The set is primed, which you can possibly see. So we are getting backlights, but there's no image.
Backlights, of course, is my way of saying screen's on.
I'm going to press the menu button. No. Try again. Does it go to red this time? Nothing at all. But we are on. We'll see the lights. I doubt very much we are going to get a main board for this. I'll go looking in a second, but we just aren't.
Now, after spending way more time than I should be on this machine, I mean, some people, it's a Saturday night, some people are out chasing girls and drinking Guinness and having fun. Not me. I'm mucking around with a plasma TV. That's my excitement for a Saturday night. I'm spending way too much time on this. But anyway, spending a little bit more time just on that processor, just to see if we get anywhere.
There we go. There's the HDMI. Gonna have to find a main board. The picture is okay. There's a few little things which again could be processor related. I'm not too sure. Look at this. Oh, let me switch the menu back on. Oh no, it's fine now, it's gone. There was a little bit of imperfection where it said, let me see if I can recreate that with this menu button. No, it's fine now. Okay. I don't think you would have seen it with the camera up there, but there was a little imperfection either side of where it says picture there, but that's gone. Now, it could well be a cap on the main board. I doubt it. I think it's more than likely going to be the processor itself, judging by the issues that we saw earlier. Right, I'm going to give it a 4-digit code. 0413. Oh, wrong password. Let me try that again. 0413. Ooh, I've never had that before. 777777. Yes. Okay. I've never had the 04 one not work. Can I wake it up just by the remote control? It looks like I can. I think it's coming on. No, it's not. So we're now gone back to the original fault. very slow. I think it's going to come on. Yeah, it's come on. It's got some sparklers, which plasmas always did. Where am I going to find a main board for this? What was the UK equivalent? I've got to find it on the screen. Well, that was clever. Why don't you throw a bunch of screws under the main board? Screws definitely wanted tightening up, but not problematically loose. Plug it back in. It's going to come on straight away this time, isn't it? So just typed in the EAX number on eBay. It's not come up with a main board, as I didn't think it would, but it has come up with the buffer boards and the Y drive. Well, they're both buffer boards. Let me type in the plasma screen model. I don't imagine for a second that this is going to come up with anything, but the screen should be international. Board's different, but the screens, so PDP 42 G20 144. What is that going to bring up? Oh, it's brought up a few things. Brought up the logic board, and it's brought up a main board for the screen, but not for this particular TV. That's for, obviously they've used this screen in a monitor. Phew! Let's type in the TV model number. I don't think that's going to help us, but if you don't try, LG 42PQ 10R. Well, it's got a remote control, and now it's just coming up with silly boards. But it's got a stand for it. It's got a head gasket for it, and a remote control. LG plasmas were quite common having processor failures, and I don't think it's down to the fact that it's been in storage. Sorry, that camera is taking up some of the space on it. But it's come on again. Oh, but now it's doing its own. That's how you can tell that it's a processor and not a capacitor. Well, it's jumping around on the screen, but it is. Yeah. That's something I saw earlier, and it just made me realise. I mean, if I hit the menu button now, yes. Now, if I go and warm up the processor, that'll get better. I can't see this being a happy ending. I just can't. I mean, I could reflow the processor for 10 minutes, but it's just going to mean that further down the line, this is going to happen. It probably won't even come on when I switch it on in the morning. But it switches to standby now. Let me switch it back on. I don't think it switches back on. Yes, it does. Okay, it's switching back on now. Oh, well, I heard a relay click. No, it's not going to come back on now. No, the red light has gone out. Oh, it's come back on again, but it doesn't want to turn on now.
Now, you know, it rather pains me to think that this TV is probably going to end up at the recycling centre because you can't get the parts, but we're finding this with plasmas, but this is a shame because it's a mint condition one.
That should bring it on, but it's not.
I'm going to keep it in the lockup for a bit just in case anyone's got a part anywhere, but it's not looking good.
So a new main board is needed. And it's just not going to happen, is it? I ain't going to find one. Bad enough finding parts of 20-year-old TVs in the UK. Finding 20-year-old parts for TVs from Saudi Arabia is a little bit difficult. Nothing I can do.